Jupiter was presumably known to whoever sent the technological device, and there might be some mission associated with that.
At exactly 2:11 p.m. on December 22, 2025, something changed, quietly, almost politely. Inside NOAA's monitoring systems, a routine update went live. No alerts, no headlines, just a subtle adjustment to the geomagnetic storm index. On the surface, it read as minor, ordinary, the kind of update that usually passes without notice. But this one didn't behave like the others. Within minutes, data analysts noticed the KP index climbing faster than models predicted. Level 4. Not extreme, but uncomfortably close to thresholds that, in previous solar cycles, had preceded cascading geomagnetic failures. What made this moment different wasn't the number, it was the pattern. The rise wasn't smooth, it pulsed, it hesitated. It surged again, as if something unseen was pressing against Earth's magnetic shield. Then came the first visual confirmations. Auroras began appearing far south of their expected range, not near the Arctic Circle, but edging toward populated regions. Cameras in the upper Midwest captured green and violet streaks where they had no business being. Utility companies quietly flagged concerns as these lights brushed dangerously close to power grid corridors never designed to sit beneath active geomagnetic skies. Above Montana, satellites registered sudden plasma surges that didn't align with standard solar wind behavior. The data looked jagged, fragmented, as if the storm wasn't a single wave, but multiple forces arriving out of sync. Almost at the same time, radar stations in northern Idaho experienced brief blackouts, seconds long, long enough to notice, too short to explain. Solar wind readings, once steady and predictable, began to stutter. Density spiked, dropped, then spiked again. Velocity curves bent in ways that shouldn't happen unless acted upon by something else. Something riding alongside the storm, hidden, fast, and unaccounted for. Publicly, NOAA remained calm. Technical language, controlled phrasing. But inside restricted channels, concerns spread fast. At the Kiruna Observatory, a real-time magnetometer recorded sharp geomagnetic spikes that flatly contradicted the minor storm classification. These spikes appeared and vanished in seconds, like a curtain being pulled back, then dropped again. That name stuck. The curtain effect. A shimmering electromagnetic veil that didn't match any known storm profile, not solar flare-driven, not coronal mass ejection behavior, something new or something returning in a form scientists weren't prepared to recognize. As researchers compared notes, a more unsettling idea surfaced. Several physicists, including Avi Loeb, began questioning the source itself. What if this wasn't only solar activity? What if Earth was being struck by high-velocity particles not born from the sun, but from beyond the heliosphere? Particles moving too fast, arriving at angles detectors weren't designed to prioritize. Interference, not eruption. By late afternoon, internal models were already failing to keep up with live data. Forecast windows widened, confidence intervals collapsed, and attention shifted to one narrow span of time ahead. Tonight, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., the sky above the upper Midwest is expected to flicker again, brighter, stranger, and more unstable than before. Colors never logged in Aurora databases may appear. Signal distortions may follow. The electromagnetic curtain is thinning. And as night approaches, one question hangs unresolved in every control room. If something is pushing through Earth's magnetic shield, what happens when it finally makes it all the way in? The next phase is already beginning. On the surface, the forecast looked routine. A mild geomagnetic disturbance, nothing urgent. The kind of update that barely earns a headline. But inside the data centers, where raw telemetry streams never sleep, analysts noticed something deeply wrong. The sun was quiet. No flare, No coronal mass ejection, no violent outburst that could justify what was about to happen. The sky was reacting to something that did not exist on any solar chart. As night approached, aurora projections crept farther south than models allowed. Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan, places where the sky was never meant to glow like this. Satellites designed to catch every solar breath, positioned perfectly between Earth and the Sun, reported nothing. The Sun was calm, yet Earth was lighting up as if struck by an unseen wave. Scientists refreshed their screens, waiting for delayed data, a missed event, any correction. None came. Then Alaska blinked. Ground-based magnetometers registered a sudden tilt in Earth's magnetic field, sharp, clean, and brief. 3.7 seconds, long enough to matter, short enough to be terrifying. GPS systems jumped off course by kilometers before snapping back into place. Aircraft navigation logs showed micro-deviations that should have been impossible. For a moment, Earth behaved as if something had nudged it, gently, precisely, deliberately. That was when panic crept in. Space weather models, refined over decades and trusted with the world's power grids, had no answer. Energy was arriving without a visible source. Payloads were being delivered without triggering the alarms designed to catch them. Whatever this was, it wasn't coming from the sun's direction. It was slipping past the detectors, or worse, approaching from an angle no one was watching. In private channels, a theory surfaced that few wanted to say out loud. What if these pulses weren't random? What if the auroras weren't side effects but responses? Some researchers began comparing the patterns to electromagnetic mapping techniques, not radiation storms, not solar debris, but scanning. As if Earth's magnetic field was being brushed, tested, read, like sonar sweeping across a dark ocean. The implications were chilling. Auroras were never supposed to be signals. They were supposed to be noise, beauty born from chaos. But tonight, the sky might not be decorating itself. It might be answering something. And if that was true, the most dangerous question wasn't what was causing the lights. It was whether something, somewhere beyond the sun, had just heard Earth reply. And as the forecast rolled forward into the next few hours, one new alert appeared on internal dashboards, quiet, unexplained, and unresolved, setting the stage for what would come next. At 2:13 a.m., the sky over northern Maine did something it had never done before. Amateur astronomers, already awake and watching a weak aurora forecast, froze when the lights appeared and then stopped. The glow didn't ripple, it didn't drift, it didn't spread. It held perfectly still, suspended above the tree line like a wound in the sky. For 45 seconds, the aurora remained locked in place, unmoving, as if the planet itself had paused to listen. Phones came out. Telescopes were abandoned. The moment was captured from multiple angles across Aroostook County. When the images hit astronomy forums minutes later, confusion spread fast. The aurora wasn't a curtain or an arc, it was a ring, bright green at the center, surrounded by a sharp red halo. No smearing, no motion blur, no known atmospheric explanation. Veteran skywatchers said the same thing again and again. This isn't how auroras behave. Then, the uploads revealed something worse. Hidden in the image metadata were magnetic timestamps, data points normally invisible to the user. The values didn't line up with Earth's current magnetic field drift. They were off by minutes, sometimes seconds, but consistently wrong. Independent analysts confirmed it within hours. The sky event appeared to be synchronized to a magnetic reference frame that wasn't Earth's. By sunrise, the area was no longer quiet. Unmarked vehicles began appearing along rural roads. Residents noticed satellite dishes mounted on vans, angled not toward the horizon, but straight up. Within 12 hours of the first reports, officials from NASA's Heliophysics Division arrived. Yet no press briefing followed. No alerts, no denial, not even a generic statement. Hotels filled with men who didn't give names and didn't wear badges. Locals felt it immediately. Something had changed. Behind closed doors, a deeper fear took shape. Sources close to NOAA confirmed that the auroral ring's geometry matched a classified simulation from 2023. A failed digital attempt to recreate Earth's magnetic shield under extreme conditions. The project had been shelved after producing unstable feedback loops. Now, the same pattern had appeared in the real sky. The implication was terrifying. Either Earth had emitted something that answered back, or something out there had recognized the signal. The night grew quieter, too quiet. Amateur radio operators across New England suddenly lost their HF bands. The static wasn't random. It dropped out cleanly, as if switched off. Seconds later, a new signal cut through. It wasn't English. It wasn't Russian. It wasn't anything operators could quickly identify. Morse code pulsed through the silence, slow and deliberate. Those who recorded it replayed the audio again and again, hands shaking as translators worked in real time. The message ended with a countdown. Then nothing. No follow-up transmission, no background noise, just silence, heavier than the static that came before it. By the time officials acknowledged temporary interference, the signal had vanished from every frequency. Attempts to recreate it failed. The sky over Maine went dark again, but witnesses swore the darkness felt different, as if something had closed. Now scientists are watching the region hour by hour. Power grids are on standby. Space weather dashboards refresh every 60 seconds. No one is explaining why northern Maine matters, or why the next auroral window expected after 10 p.m. has triggered internal alerts across multiple agencies. If the aurora is no longer just a display, but part of a two-way system, tonight may not be another light show. It may be a response, and if the pattern returns stronger, clearer, more stable, there may be no way to claim this is natural anymore. Because whatever appeared over Maine didn't drift away. It paused. And the next phase is just beginning.